Hello, welcome to Biblical Wealth Principles. This is a space where we talk about faith, wisdom, and the decisions that help you build a more stable life, with God at the center. Have you ever stopped to think about why, even giving your best every day, your financial situation never seems to change? Why doesn't effort translate into real progress? There's a clear reason for this, and it's not what most people imagine. There's a silent frustration that accompanies many Christians. You wake up early, you fulfill your obligations, you do your best at work, you come home tired, you pay the bills you can afford, you postpone the ones you can't, and at the end of the month, you look at your bank account and realize that nothing has really changed. The feeling is of being trapped in a cycle that never ends, and the worst part is that you believe in God, you pray, you trust. But when it comes to money, there seems to be a disconnect between your faith and your practical reality. You wonder, am I doing something wrong? Does God not care about this area of my life? Or is there something I should understand, but no one has ever taught me? The truth is this: hard work is essential, but hard work, by itself, has never been enough to build financial stability. It never has been, and the Bible makes that very clear. The problem is that most people have been taught to believe that effort solves everything, and when effort doesn't solve it, they feel like failures, guilty, exhausted. But the problem isn't you. The problem is that there's an underlying structure to the effort that determines whether that effort will generate progress or just keep you in the same place. And if that structure is broken, misaligned, or simply absent, you can work twice as hard and still not get anywhere. Think about it. You can work 60 hours a week. You can work overtime. You can take on additional responsibilities. But if your money is being spent haphazardly, if you don't know exactly where it's going, if financial decisions are made impulsively or under pressure, then the effort only feeds a system that doesn't work. It's like filling a leaky bucket. No matter how much water you put in, it keeps leaking. And here's the painful part. Often, this pattern repeats itself for years, decades. You look back and realize you worked hard, but didn't build anything solid. The debts remain. The anxiety continues. The feeling of always being on edge persists, and you start to wonder if it will ever change. But I need you to hear this clearly. Change is possible. Rebuilding is possible. But it doesn't begin with working more. It begins with understanding what's blocking progress, and that understanding changes everything. You've just identified something that many people carry in silence, and recognizing this is already the first step. Go to the comments now and write, "I'm ready to understand what needs to change." This statement matters. Do it now. What you are about to discover is not a magic formula. It is a biblical principle that, when understood, completely reorganizes the way you deal with work, money, and decisions. Here's a principle that most people never understand. Hard work multiplies what you already have in place. But if what's already in place is flawed, hard work only amplifies the problem. Read this again. Let this truth sink in. If your way of thinking about money is based on fear, working more only generates more fear. If your financial habits are disorganized, working more only generates more disorganization. If your decisions are made without clarity, working more only multiplies the confusion. The Bible teaches this in Proverbs chapter 21, verse 5. The plans of the diligent lead to abundance, but everyone who is hasty surely ends in poverty. Pay attention to what is written. It doesn't just say, work hard and prosper. It says that the plans of the diligent lead to abundance. Plans, not just effort, plans. This means that there is something prior to the work that determines the outcome of the work, and that something is the mental, spiritual, and practical framework upon which the effort is applied. Without this framework, effort is wasted. With this framework, effort transforms into real progress. Think about building a house. You can work 16 hours a day laying bricks. You can sweat. You can push yourself to the limit. But if the foundation is cracked, if the architectural design is wrong, if you're building on sand instead of rock, all that work will crumble. The problem isn't the amount of work, it's where and how that work is being applied. This is the financial reality for millions of people. They work hard, but they work on a foundation that has never been fixed. And because no one has ever taught them how to examine that foundation, they continue repeating the same patterns, hoping that this time it will be different. But it isn't, because the problem isn't the effort, it's what lies beneath the effort. So what's underlying your efforts right now? Let's be honest. For many Christians, what's underlying is a mix of anxiety, guilt, unexamined beliefs, and a complete lack of clear direction. You've been taught that wanting to prosper financially can be greed. You've been taught that all you need is faith and everything will work out. You've been taught not to worry about money, but at the same time, you live drowning in worry about money. These contradictions create paralysis, and paralysis keeps you trapped, because when you don't know what to do, you end up doing what you've always done, and what you've always done continues to produce what you've always produced. But God didn't create you to live like that. He didn't create you to work your whole life and end up exhausted, in debt, and without peace. He teaches something completely different. He teaches that prosperity comes from applied wisdom, from conscious stewardship, from decisions aligned with eternal principles. Look at Joseph in Egypt, Genesis chapter 41. God gave Pharaoh a dream showing that there would be 7 years of plenty followed by 7 years of famine. And what did Joseph do? Did he say, "God will provide, so we don't need to worry"? No, he planned. He built granaries. He organized the harvest. He managed resources. He made practical decisions based on wisdom. And because of that, an entire nation survived. This is the biblical model. Faith and wisdom go hand in hand. Trust in God and human responsibility go hand in hand. Prayer and planning go hand in hand. When you separate these things, you get stuck in a vague spiritualism that produces no practical results. And then you blame God, or you blame yourself. But the problem is neither. The problem is that you were never taught to integrate faith with responsible action. So the question you need to ask yourself now isn't, "Why isn't God blessing me?" The right question is, what is underlying my efforts? What beliefs are guiding my financial decisions? What mental patterns are keeping me stuck? Because when you fix what's underneath, what's above starts to work. When you align the foundation, the effort finally bears fruit. From here, you'll see exactly how this works in real life, and you'll understand why so many people get stuck repeating the same mistake without ever realizing it. Let me show you how this principle applies in practice, because understanding the theory is one thing, but seeing it happen in someone's real life makes everything clearer. There was a man named Robert. This isn't a made-up story. It's the kind of situation that happens every day. Robert was 42 years old, married, had 2 children, worked full-time, and still did extra work on weekends. He wasn't lazy. Quite the opposite. He was one of the most dedicated employees at the company where he worked. But financially, Robert was sinking. Credit card maxed out, car loan overdue, electricity bill accruing, interest. And every time he thought things were improving, something happened. The car broke down, a medical emergency arose, and he was back in the same hole. Robert prayed a lot. He asked God to open doors, to send provision, to resolve the situation. But nothing changed, and over time, he began to feel abandoned. He questioned whether God really cared, whether he was doing something wrong spiritually, whether perhaps he wasn't worthy of blessing, until one day, at a church meeting, the pastor taught about Proverbs chapter 24, verse 27. "First prepare your work outside and get your field ready. After that, build your house." And something clicked in Robert's mind. He realized that he had spent years trying to build the house without preparing the field. He was working hard, but he had never stopped to organize the foundation. So Robert did something simple, yet transformative. He bought a notebook, and he started writing every expense, every income, every penny that left the account. And for the first time in his life, He saw where the money was really going. It wasn't big extravagances, it was small leaks, forgotten subscriptions, impulse purchases, meals out because he was too tired to plan. None of these things were catastrophic on their own, but together, they were bleeding his finances dry without him realizing it. Robert didn't need more money. He needed more awareness, more structure, more clarity. He made a decision. He was going to align his finances with biblical principles, not just cultural habits. He cut out what wasn't necessary. He built a simple budget. He started saying no, even when it hurt. And in 6 months, something changed. It wasn't an instant miracle. It was peace, clarity, control. The debts began to decrease. The anxiety began to subside. And for the first time in years, Robert felt he was moving forward, not just surviving. The difference wasn't working more. It was working with structure, with wisdom, with awareness, and that changed everything. If Robert's story sounds familiar, you're not alone. And the first step is recognizing that change is possible. Go to the comments now and write, "I choose to build with wisdom, not just with effort." Record this. It matters. Now that you understand the principle and have seen how it works in practice, we need to talk about the 3 pillars that determine whether your effort will generate progress or just keep you stuck. These 3 pillars are the difference between working your whole life and ending up exhausted, or working with purpose and building something solid. The first pillar is your mindset about money. And when I talk about mindset, I'm not talking about what you say you believe. I'm talking about what your actions reveal you truly believe. Because you can say you trust in God, but if you live in constant panic about money, your real mindset is one of scarcity, not trust. Most Christians have a conflicting financial mindset. On the one hand, they want stability. On the other, they feel guilty for wanting it. On the one hand, they know they should save. On the other, they think that demonstrates a lack of faith, so they remain in the middle ground, doing neither well. They don't save with discipline. They don't trust with peace. They just live in tension. But the Bible teaches renewal of the mind. Romans chapter 12 verse 2 says, "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." You cannot transform your financial life without first transforming how you think about money, provision, and responsibility. If your mind is trapped in fear, passivity, or confusion, your actions will reflect that, no matter how hard you work. The second pillar is your spending habits. And this is where theory meets reality. You can have the best intentions in the world, but if you don't control where your money goes, those intentions mean nothing. Proverbs chapter 27, verse 23 teaches, "Be sure you know the condition of your flocks. Give careful attention to your herds." In modern terms, know where your money is. Pay attention. Don't be careless. Most people are careless, not by choice, but by default. They don't keep track. They don't plan. They just spend and hope it works out. And when it doesn't, they're surprised. But hope isn't strategy. Awareness is. Discipline is. Stewardship is. If you don't know how much you spent last month, you're not managing, you're guessing. And guessing doesn't build wealth. It builds stress. The third pillar is your long-term vision. Where are you really going financially? What does stability look like for you in 5 years? 10 years? Or are you just trying to survive this month and deal with the future when it arrives? Proverbs chapter 29, verse 18 says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." Without a clear vision of your financial future, you will make decisions based on immediate pressure, not long-term purpose. You will spend to alleviate today's stress instead of investing to build tomorrow. You will remain reactive instead of becoming proactive. And here's the hard truth. If you don't have a vision for where you're going financially, someone else's vision will control your money. Credit card companies have a vision for you. Advertisers have a vision for you. Culture has a vision for you. And none of those visions include your freedom, your peace, or your stability. So the question is, what is your vision? Not a vague wish. A clear, specific vision, aligned biblically. What does God want you to build with the resources He has entrusted to you? What does faithful stewardship look like in your real life? If you can't answer that, you're not leading your finances. You're being led by them. These three pillars, mindset, habits, and vision, are what determine whether your hard work produces lasting results or just temporary relief. Fix these pillars, and your effort will begin to multiply in the right direction. Ignore them, and you'll continue working hard while remaining stuck. This kind of clarity doesn't come from motivational phrases or quick tips. It comes from consistent learning based on biblical truth and practical application. Liking this post now strengthens this space where content like this continues to be shared, and subscribing keeps you connected to teachings that follow this same line of clarity, faith, and responsibility. Now, all of this that we're building leads to a question you need to answer honestly. How do you transform this understanding into practical action in your real life, starting today? Here's something that needs to be very clear. You can listen to 100 videos, you can take notes, you can feel inspired. But if you don't have a structured and clear way to apply what you're learning, nothing will change. Information without application is just noise. And most people get stuck not because they don't know better, but because they don't have a system to organize their thinking and transform it into consistent action. This is the void that most Christians face. They understand the principles, they believe that God wants them to be good stewards. But when it comes time to actually implement that wisdom in daily decisions, they freeze. Why? Because they were never taught how to connect biblical truth with financial strategy in a way that works in real life. Think about this honestly. You may know all the verses about prosperity. You may have genuine faith. You may believe that God wants what's best for you. But if you don't have a clear method to transform that faith into concrete decisions about budgeting, spending, saving, and priorities, everything remains vague. And vagueness doesn't produce results. Vagueness produces anxiety. Most people live in that undefined space. They know what they should do. They know they need to change. But when they look at their own financial lives, they don't know where to begin. They don't know what to cut first. They don't know how to reorganize their minds to stop repeating the same patterns. And so, they become paralyzed. And paralysis, over time, turns into resignation. But listen to this. Resignation is not God's plan for you. He did not create you to accept financial defeat as your destiny. He teaches clarity. He teaches wisdom. He teaches that there is a responsible, sustainable, and biblically grounded path to escape scarcity and build stability. Speaking of all this, there's something practical you need to know. Many people remain financially trapped, not because they lack ability, but because they have never been taught to think correctly about money in light of God's Word. They strive, but repeat decisions that don't lead to progress. This pattern needs to be broken. With that in mind, I've compiled everything you need to help a person escape financial chaos and move towards a more organized, conscious path aligned with biblical principles into a practical guide. The material is called Transform Your Mindset and Multiply Your Finances Quickly, and was developed specifically for those who are tired of repeating the same mistakes and want to move forward with clarity. This guide offers biblical principles applied to real financial life, correction of limiting beliefs, clarity about prosperity without guilt, mental organization for better decisions, and alignment between faith, character, and money. It's not a magic promise. It's a practical framework. The link is in the first pinned comment below this video. If you understand that financial growth requires decision-making and discipline, go to the first pinned comment now, click the link, and download the material. Delaying decisions keeps everything exactly as it is. Going back to what we were learning, the central point is this: biblical prosperity doesn't happen by chance. It's built with the right mindset, solid principles, and consistent decisions over time. And when you organize these elements, the hard work finally begins to produce the result it should have produced from the start. So stop blaming yourself for working hard and not making progress. The problem isn't you. The problem is that no one ever taught you how to build the right foundation before putting in the effort. But now you're learning. And with that, learning comes responsibility. The responsibility to apply, to adjust, to change what needs to be changed. Because God doesn't just want you to survive. He wants you to build. He wants you to prosper. He wants you to live with dignity, peace, and purpose. And all of that begins with conscious decisions, not vague hopes. Let's talk about something many people avoid facing. Why you keep making the same financial decisions even when you know they don't work. Because this is the most common pattern among people who work hard but don't make progress. They know what they should do, but they don't do it. And they keep repeating the cycle. The reason for this is deeper than a lack of willpower. It's because there are ingrained beliefs that control your decisions without you realizing it. And as long as these beliefs are not identified and corrected, you will continue to act against your own best interests. Let me give you an example. Many Christians have been taught, directly or indirectly, that wanting financial stability is a sign of a lack of faith, that if you truly trusted in God, you wouldn't worry about financial planning. You would just pray and let God take care of it. This belief sounds spiritual, but it's destructive, because it creates passivity disguised as faith. And when you operate with that belief, you don't plan, you don't organize, you don't make conscious decisions. You just wait for God to solve everything while you continue doing the same things you've always done. And when nothing changes, you feel spiritually unsuccessful, as if God isn't fulfilling His part. But God never promised to do for you what He equipped you to do for yourself. He gives wisdom, He teaches principles, He empowers, but He expects you to apply what He has taught. Proverbs chapter 2 verses 6 to 8 say, "For the Lord gives wisdom, from His mouth come knowledge and understanding. He holds victory in store for the upright. He is a shield to those whose walk is blameless." God gives wisdom, but you need to walk in it, apply it, use it to make better decisions. And when you do that, He protects, He sustains, He blesses, but He doesn't replace human responsibility. He strengthens it. Another common belief is that debt is normal, that everyone has it, that it's just part of modern life, and because of that, you accept debt as inevitable instead of treating it as the problem it really is. You finance things you don't need. You use your credit card to cover gaps that should be covered by planning. And at the end of the month, you pay interest that devours what little is left. The Bible doesn't call debt a blessing. Proverbs chapter 22 verse 7 says, "The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender." Debt creates servitude. It robs you of your peace. It limits your choices. And it keeps you trapped in a cycle where you work not to build, but to pay off the past. So if you truly want to move forward, you need to confront these beliefs. You need to ask yourself, what do I believe about money that is keeping me stuck? Where did these beliefs come from? Are they based on God's word or on cultural habits that I've never questioned? Because until you identify and correct the beliefs that are guiding your decisions, you will continue working against yourself. You will continue striving without results. You will continue to be frustrated without understanding why. But when you align your beliefs with biblical truth, something changes. You begin to make decisions that make sense, decisions that build you up, decisions that honor God, and at the same time bear fruit in your life. And that's not a contradiction. It's balance. It's maturity. It's what the Bible has always taught. This understanding changes how you view every financial decision you make. Go to the comments now and write, "I am aligning my beliefs with God's truth." Declare it. It matters. What comes next is even more practical, because it's not enough to understand the problem. You need to know exactly how to fix it, step by step, in your actual routine. Let's make this completely practical, because understanding without application transforms nothing. You need to know exactly what to do when you finish watching this video. And what I'm going to show you now are the concrete steps that separate those who get stuck from those who start to move forward. First step: stop spending without realizing it. This seems obvious, but most people don't do it. They think they know where their money goes, but when they actually write it down, they discover they were completely wrong. Small, unnoticed expenses add up to hundreds over the course of a month, and those pennies are exactly what's preventing you from building savings or paying off debt. So grab a notebook or use a simple app, and for 30 days, record every penny that goes out, every coffee, every subscription, every impulse purchase. At the end of the month, you'll see patterns you never noticed before, and those patterns will show you exactly where the leak is. Second step: define clear priorities. You can't pay everything at once, so you need to decide what comes first, and that decision can't be based on which bill is calling the loudest. It needs to be based on wisdom. Proverbs chapter 3, verses 9 and 10 teach, "Honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled to overflowing, and your vats will brim over with new wine." This means, give God first place, not what's left over. First place, and then organize the rest responsibly. Housing, food, transportation, debts, savings, in that order. Without guilt, without despair, with clarity. Third step: cut out the unnecessary without hesitation. And this is where most people get stuck, because cutting means saying no, and saying no is uncomfortable. But you need to understand, every unnecessary expense you maintain is robbing you of your future. It's delaying your freedom. It's prolonging your anxiety. So be honest. Do you really need all those subscriptions? Do you need to eat out 3 times a week? Do you need the full TV package? I'm not saying you can't have anything. I'm saying you need to consciously choose what matters and eliminate what doesn't, because resources are limited, and you can't build while you keep bleeding money on things that don't add real value. Fourth step: build an emergency fund. Even if it's small, even if it's just $100 a month, start, because the lack of a reserve is what keeps you trapped by credit card debt. Any unforeseen event turns into debt, and debt keeps you in the cycle. But when you have a reserve, even a modest one, you breathe differently. You decide differently. You have a margin. And margin is what separates survival from building. Fifth step: attack debt strategically, not emotionally. Don't pay off a little of each without ever eliminating any. Choose the smallest debt. Concentrate all your extra effort on it while paying the minimum on the others. When that one is eliminated, move on to the next. This method, known as the snowball method, works because it creates visible wins, and wins generate motivation, and motivation sustains discipline. And while you do all of this, keep the right spiritual perspective. You're not just organizing money, you're exercising stewardship. You're honoring God responsibly. You're building something that reflects His character, and that matters a lot. These 5 steps aren't complicated, but they require decision, discipline, consistency, and the willingness to do what's right even when it's difficult. But that's exactly what separates those who change from those who stay the same. Now I need to talk about something that goes beyond your personal finances, because when you truly understand these principles, when you start applying them and seeing results, you take on a responsibility. The responsibility of not keeping this to yourself. Think about how many people you know who are stuck exactly where you were, working hard, giving their best, but not making progress, living under constant pressure, carrying guilt for wanting stability, repeating patterns that don't work because no one ever taught them a better alternative. These people need to hear what you've just learned. They need to understand that hard work isn't enough, that there's structure beneath the effort, that God teaches practical wisdom, not just passive faith. And you can be the channel through which this message reaches them. Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 to 16 say, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others. that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven. When you learn something that changes your life, you weren't the only recipient, you were the first. And now you have the opportunity to multiply that, to help someone who is going through the same struggle, to offer clarity where there is confusion, direction where there is despair. And the simplest way to do that is to share this content. Send it to someone you know needs to hear this, someone who is in debt, someone who is exhausted, someone who loves God but doesn't know how to align faith and finances. You know who that person is. Their name already came to mind while you were watching. This type of content is meant to be shared. There are people trapped in the same struggles you're understanding now, and you can be the one to bring clarity to them. Share this video. Send it to someone who needs it. Use it as a tool for building up, because truth that isn't shared remains limited, but truth that is multiplied transforms entire families. And when you do that, you're not just helping someone, you're fulfilling stewardship. You're being faithful with what you've received, and that pleases God. Because He doesn't teach truth merely for personal consumption, He teaches for collective transformation. So think about this. How many people in your family, at your work, in your church, are living under financial pressure without understanding why? How many are repeating the same patterns because no one has ever shown them that there is another way? You can change that now by sharing something that truly helps. And here's what happens when you do that. You don't just bless the other person, you strengthen your own understanding. Because teaching consolidates learning, sharing reinforces conviction. And when you become a channel of transformation for others, God uses you in ways you never imagined. So don't keep it to yourself. Multiply it, spread it. Let others have access to the same understanding that is changing your way of thinking. Because biblical prosperity is not selfish. It is generous. It overflows. It spreads. And you can be a part of it starting now. Let's talk about the last barrier that prevents people from truly changing. And this barrier isn't a lack of information. It's not a lack of ability. It's a lack of decision. It's knowing what to do and not doing it. It's understanding the path and not walking it. And this happens every day to millions of people. They watch, they learn, they agree, they feel it makes sense, and then they close the video and go back to their routine exactly as it was. Nothing changes, because understanding without action is just theory, and theory doesn't transform lives. Application does. So I need to ask you a direct question. What are you going to do with everything you've learned here? Are you going to keep it as interesting information? Or are you going to transform it into concrete decisions? Because the difference between those who change and those who remain stuck isn't in what they know. It's in what they do with what they know. James, chapter 1, verses 22 to 25 teach, "Do not merely listen to the word, and so deceive yourselves. Do what it says. Anyone who listens to the word, but does not do what it says, is like someone who looks intently at his face in a mirror. For when he looks at himself and goes away, he immediately forgets what kind of person he was. But whoever looks intently into the perfect law, the law of liberty, and perseveres in it, and is not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, he will be blessed in what he does." Listening without practicing is an illusion. You deceive yourself into thinking you've learned, but nothing changes. What transforms is practice, application, the conscious decision to do things differently from now on. And I know that change is difficult. I know it takes courage. It takes saying no when everyone else says yes. It takes discipline when you're tired. It takes persistence when results are slow to appear. But I also know that staying the same is even harder, because staying the same means carrying the same anxiety, the same pressure, the same frustration for more years, and that wears you down. It steals your peace. It kills hope. So you have a choice. You can leave everything as it is, or you can decide that from today, something changes. Not everything at once, but something. One step, one decision, one adjustment, and then another, and another, until those small steps turn into real progress. And remember, God honors those who act wisely. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 3 says, "Commit your works to the Lord, and your plans will be established." When you act according to His principles, He establishes, He confirms, He sustains. But you need to act first. And while you organize this, keep one truth in your heart. God didn't bring you here to keep you trapped. He brought you here to teach you, to equip you, to show you that there is a way. And now that you know, the responsibility is yours. The decision is yours. The next step is yours. So don't let the fear of difficulty paralyze you. Don't let the shame of the past prevent you from building the future. Don't let doubt steal the clarity you've just received. God is with you. He empowers you. He strengthens you. But He expects you to walk, to apply, to build. And when you do that, when you truly decide to change and act on that decision, something happens. Not an instant miracle, but a gradual, solid, sustainable transformation. And that transformation is worth every moment of effort. It's worth every difficult decision. It's worth every no you had to say. Because in the end, you're not just organizing money. You're building a life that honors God and reflects wisdom. And that is true prosperity. If you've made it this far, you didn't arrive by accident. You came because something inside you knows it needs to change, and that something is right. Because God didn't create you to live financially suffocated, spiritually confused, and emotionally exhausted. He created you to prosper, not with ostentation, not with greed, but with wisdom, balance, and purpose. And everything we've discussed here boils down to this. Hard work is important, but structured work is what transforms effort into progress. When you align your mindset, your habits, and your vision with solid biblical principles, hard work finally produces the fruit it should always have produced. So stop blaming yourself for being where you are. Stop thinking the problem is you. The problem is that no one ever taught you how to build the right foundation before putting in the effort. But now you know, and with that knowledge comes responsibility. The responsibility to apply it, to decide, to change. And you're not doing this alone. God walks with you. He teaches, He empowers, He sustains. But He expects you to act, to practice what you've learned, to be a faithful steward of what He has entrusted to you. Content like this is designed to empower people who want to grow responsibly and with faith. Liking this post acknowledges the value received and helps this type of message reach more people who need it. Subscribing keeps you connected to teachings that follow the same line. And activating the notification bell ensures you don't miss upcoming content that will continue to delve deeper into these principles in a practical and applicable way. What you've begun to understand here deepens as you continue learning. The next piece of content appearing on your screen now maintains that same clarity and helps organize all of this in an even more practical way. Click and continue building this understanding, because biblical prosperity is not an isolated event. It's a process, and you are right in the middle of it.